Um, um, good, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, Stefan. Hi, Jacinta. Hi, Dorothy. Hi, Kiri.
Hi.
Hello.
You guys are okay? Awesome. Awesome. So, I don't know whether we should give others like 5 more minutes or 2 more minutes, then we start, or we just proceed. What do you guys think? We wait, huh? Okay, okay, 5 minutes. Hello. Hello. I think you can just start. So, good afternoon once more. It's heading towards evening, but good afternoon once more. I think it's been a while. I think a week, a few days, 2 weeks. I don't know how. I hope you guys have been practicing on PHP and yeah, basically been practicing. Yeah, thank you. So, Stefan, Jacinta, Dorothy, Curie, Geoffrey, Hezekiah, Chris. Um, how has the experience been in terms of like, the past 2 weeks? What have you worked on? Have you been able like to practice on PHP or also the articles and the small uh, the presentation file to the assignment? Were you guys able to do it? Did you find challenges or how was it? How was it? Kiroi, Stefan, Jacinto, Dorothy, Chris, Hezekiah, Geoffrey, anyone can go. Dorothy?
Hello.
Yes, 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 Stefan.
So we're able to, with our group, with my group members, to do the article.
Yeah.
That's what we posted on the group for Medium. The article on the concept
Yeah.
challenge that you had given. Uh, Actually, it was unclear. I wanted to ask, were we meant to do the article? Because you said either three-page article or presentation file.
It was more or less like a presentation file or a mini article. That was
Okay.
enough just to like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Oh,
I read your group's work. That was really nice work. That was a really good work, and I commend you.
oh,
Uh,
okay. Thank you.
Hezekiah, Hezekiah, how many groups were there?
Um, they were around 3.
3. So I've only gotten for one. I think I need to attach incentives now. Yeah. But anyway, Stephen, that was a good job, your team. Nice one. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Keep doing it. So, in terms of practice, I propose you start practicing on your PHP by doing hacker rank codes and hacker rank challenges and also lead code challenges. So I'll go straight into the content today. The others will follow in the recordings. So today's objective is I want to introduce you to a framework. The framework is known as Laravel. Um, Ideally, we've already touched on the basics, of just the concept of an overview, a high-level overview of what backend involves, how the internet works, how the databases work, examples of databases from NoSQL, SQL, flows very deeper to technologies or companies that have it. For example, MongoDB, we have Oracle, we have Firebase, and the like. So in this scenario here, we're now looking at it from now retrieving the data. We're going to now introduce a framework. So basically, what a framework does is it basically allows, or rather gives you a set of code to which, or rather frame to which you start building on top of. Mind you, this frame has handled a number of, let's call it, what can I call it? It has handled, let's say, let's call it small caveats. For example, when you're looking at load balancing, things like load balancing, code structure, basically load balancing, code structure, and other intricacies within your systems that you might not see or might see or come to see later on. So that's the beauty of frameworks when it comes to frameworks. Frameworks tend to give you a base structure to which you build on top of. And most of the time, we find frameworks have handled particular incidences that could occur within your solution or your application. So in this case, we're looking at it from how do I retrieve the data and what is actually the data itself from an API standpoint. So in this case, we're looking at the kitchen itself. Okay. So in this case, we have, yeah, data is the new oil, but I'm not looking at it from a data science perspective. I'm looking at it from let's get that data from the database and give it to the user on the client side. So in this case, we initially looked at our whole server client server architecture where we put your URL, send your request to the server. Then once the server has received your request, it sends this request to the database. In the database, we now check what kind of resource did, for example, Jacinta want from the database. Then I provide back that resource as a response back to the client, following the same chain. Are you together till that? Make sense? Okay. So here, the server has returned your data, and you can now finally watch a video, for instance. But now, in this case, now we go now behind the scenes. How does this thing work? Rather, what does it take for us to get that data from the database itself? So in this case, these are the things you're going to need. Of course, laptop, desktop, the necessities. We're going to use VS Code and what do you call this, Postman as our primary tool. Then you're going to just need your laptop. So Laravel itself, there's a video I shared, part of the tasks for this week. The video is about a creator known as Taylor Otwell. Taylor Otwell is the creator of Laravel. Laravel is basically a full stack framework that allows you to build end-to-end applications. That is from a client-side perspective to a server-side perspective. The client side answers the question, what do I see? And how do I get whatever I want? The database now answers the question of the server side answers the question of how do I retrieve that data? How do I retrieve that data? Or rather, how do I serve that data to the client himself? So in this case, we focus on Laravel. Laravel is primarily a framework, a PHP framework. It's been there for over 10 years. So the reason why we chose Laravel was one, it has one of the best documentations in the market. The code is written with so much intention and it's easily readable. Two, the three, Laravel has been there for some time, so the support is there. In case you receive an error or get an error, you're able to work around it easily. So that's one thing you should look at when tackling frameworks. One, you answer the question of how long has it been there in the market? Two, how big is the support base? Because a new framework, let's say, is 1 year old. It will be kind of troublesome, especially when handling bugs. The question would be, if this bug occurred, how can I solve it? Is the documentation sufficient? Is there support, like a whole community of, let's say, new Laravel users that we can reach out to? And that's what Laravel provides. So basically, as I've said, it's a full stack PHP framework used to build client and server-side applications. So it uses an MVC kind of architecture pattern, where we have a model, view, and controller. The purpose of the model is structure to me. It answers the question of structure to me, how these things are written in the database. For example, how are they in the database? Give me a model of that. For example, a user, a student. A student can have a name, ID, age, year, and let's say a story or a blog. Then that is now, those are the things that define our model. The view is basically what do you see. So in this case, when you serve data to our client side, there's a section where you see it, let's say in the front end. That is the particular view. The controller is now like the person who works towards him. You've requested for this. Let me go to the database and pass in the respective configurations. Passing the respective configurations that are needed to give back the resource to the user. So one, the model is links tells it about how you're going to pass in or rather send that payload to the database. So the view visualizes or shows you the particular response from the user. The controller now works in between the database and the client once the request has come in. So the request comes in, it goes to the controller. The controller serves the purpose of going to the database, fetching it the way you've instructed it to fetch, and returns it. That's the purpose of the controller. And the value of architectural patterns is it prevents the concept of having your code everywhere. So having a pattern towards it creates more organization, easy maintainability, and also at the same time, it allows you to be able to know at what point did my application fail. Did it fail at the code? Did it fail at the view? What is the problem? Right? Relative. Okay, that's okay. If it doesn't make sense, please just shout out. There's a book I shared, a book called Clean Code by Uncle Bob's. I hope you started reading on it. It's just a 300-page book that you can clear in just a week, 2 weeks. So it actually expresses how you should write your code, the small caveats that lead to you not having, let's say, beautiful code. Mean by beautiful code means if I give it to someone else, can they read the code and understand what you are trying to achieve? Is it named well? Is the naming properly done and such? Let's proceed to the next. So when it comes to now frameworks of any form of technology, the approach that I advise or rather propose views is tackle it from a life cycle perspective. By life cycle, I mean look at how everyone remembers the process of metamorphosis in insects and all. How many remember that the concepts in biology or science? You remember that? Nice, nice. So you find there's always a cyclic process towards something. It always must start somewhere and must end somewhere and must start again somewhere. So that's the whole idea behind all frameworks. Like if you look at a framework, tackle it from a life cycle perspective because you'll be able to tell at what point did this solution fail, at what point did it fail, and did it flow really well. That is one question you should always ask. So understanding it from a life cycle perspective. Let's now start the life cycle. So here, this is, remember the image of you trying to look for videos on YouTube of people, right? So this is the request that was sent behind the scenes. The request was sent to the server. Within the server, what the server does, it says, okay, I have received this request. Right? So now the idea is, how can I process that request and how do I transfer that request to the team? So in this scenario, the API lies between the database itself and the client. So this request comes in, it goes to the server. The server goes to where the API is. But then remember, the API must be initialized first before you use it and before it's able to interact with the database. So by initializing it, I mean, I need you to give me an instance, like create an instance of that particular application so that I can use it. So in this scenario, think of it like like if you want to have a bakery set up something, you need to have a shop, you need to have a land, you need to have like a building that can house it. But how do we get to that building? Start by breaking ground. And that is what we call the initialization bit. Are we together, folks? Okay, okay. Is there anyone that would like me to repeat what I've said? I can simplify it further if you have any challenges. If you have, just raise up your hand. I'll repeat it. Okay, then it seems everyone is okay. So in this case, remember, one thing you also notice as you're interacting with frameworks, there are like a whole myriad of frameworks out there. But how a framework works is it first of all creates initializers, creates the first instance, then runs the whole application. When it comes to Laravel, remember our request here of, hey, I want this video of people are awesome. It goes to the server. The server says, hi, you. This guy has asked for this video. So where is the API? Push that request to the API. The API says, okay. Before you give me this request, let me set up, let me prepare. Right together. So in this case, we go to note the Laravel application. So the Laravel application has like a number of things, a number of modules within it. It's a very big file, but not so big, but it's understandable. It's a file. So within this file, there are four main bits. We're breaking down to four main bits, the ones that actually we actually manipulate. We have an index.php, we have a kernel, we have a service provider, we have a routing and controller. So we start off with the first one, the routing and the index.php. So when it comes to Laravel, the entry point is the index.php file. Are we together? So when a request comes, I want you to visually think of it. So when a request comes, this is how it looks. It proceeds from here, goes to the server. Then once the Laravel application has initialized, the application has started, or rather is starting, it first goes and targets this index.php. At index.php, there's something known as an autoloader, which promotes the process of creating the first instance of your Laravel application. Are you together, folks? Are you together? Ah, perfect. Jacinta, and Chris, are you guys okay? If you have a question, just ask. Or if you want me to repeat, I'll repeat. Because this is usually the most important bit. Jacinta, are you okay? Then I'll just repeat. So here you've said, looking like when you're approaching it from a lifecycle perspective, we need to understand how the request flows, what are the request lifecycle, right? So in this scenario, our request is coming, it has gone to the server, then it has gone to the Laravel application here. In the Laravel application, remember, you must first of all have an entry point to any form of framework. Yeah, that is what you notice in all form of frameworks. There's a single entry point to that application, or rather any form of application. So in this scenario here, we find the entry point to our Laravel application is the index.php. The index.php contains a file known as an autoloader, which also allows us to create the first instance of our application and also create a whole application, the first application instance. Right together. So once it has come here, it now proceeds to the kernel. The kernel now tells us, okay, I have gotten your request. I've already initialized my application. It has come to the autoloader. Autoloader doesn't know the creation of the first instance. Now the question is, you come to the kernel, where do you want to go? And what do I mean? So in this scenario, remember, you're dealing with an API. We're going to target the HTTP kernel, meaning that you're going to route all our requests through the HTTP kernel, and the HTTP kernel will direct it to where we want it to go in terms of the request resource. Are we together? So we're taking it step by step. So once the request is sent to the HTTP kernel, it now goes to the service provider. What the service provider does is the service provider now mounts all the services that come with Laravel and then registers them and boots them. So think of a service provider like look at the places you are, be it a workspace, be it a school space, be it what else, be it what else? Let's look at it from workspace, school space, or even, school space, because school, primary even. When you look at the school space, take a step back and look at all the operations that are involved with that. You have internet, you have food, you have, let's take internet and food. The people that bring food to school and provide internet to your school. Those are service providers. So within the Laravel applications, we have small entities like that, those services. But for them to be able to work within your system, working system, there are some that come with Laravel by default. So now you can also later on we'll see how to build our own service providers. But for now, just look at it from a basic point of view. So the service providers, you'll find the service providers tend to bring in a service, then allow your application to work or build on top of that service. So in this scenario, the service provider is registered and booted till the avail lost anyway. Does it make sense? Yeah. Okay. Jacinta is there. Okay. Fine. Geoffrey and Ezekiel, does it make sense? Okay. Let's proceed now. Let's proceed. So in terms of the now, once the service providers have been registered and booted, we now proceed to now the routing and control. And remember, the controllers have the purpose of, hey, okay, this guy has requested for this particular request, right? So let me go to the database according to how I've been configured. Let me go to the database, get that resource and serve it back to him as a response based on how he structured it, right? So now we start off with the routing, then go to the controller. In this case, remember, we've passed by the index that our request has come from here. It's come through here, going through to the index of PHP, then the kernel targeting HTTP, then the service providers are mounted. Then now we go to the routing and controller. The purpose of routing and controller is, remember, you'll have many resources within your database. And you'll have like, for example, you'll have a user table, you'll have, let's say, you'll have user table, you have sports table, you have, let's say, foods table, you have accessories table. And to be able to know, like, one, remember in backend operations, you need to perform the CRUD, create, read, update, delete, right? When, let's say, we are reading, we can either choose to read a single element, let's say, an entity, or you can read the whole DB or a group of DBs. So that logic of segregating between reading one item to multiple items or specific items within, let's say, a particular range, this is where the controller comes in. What the routing does is it tells it like, hey, okay, we have multiple resources here. We have the user resource, you have the student resource, you have the, let's say, food resource. Where do you want to go? So that's what the routing tells us. So through our endpoint, we have things known as endpoints. The endpoints will route them to our target areas. All right. Who is lost? Jacinta, live. This is good. This is good. Hezekiah, Kirui, Stephen, Dorothy. Nice. Stephen? This is routing and control. Okay, nice. So I want you to think about this. Remember, this is a request that has been sent to the backend via the server. So within the server, the API resides and also the database resides there. So the purpose of the API is to host that logic that is going to help you interact with the database and return to you. Your database might have multiple tables. For instance, user, let's say we're just a simple shop. Our shop has users, has clients, has not clients, don't use clients, has shopkeepers, has let's make it simpler. Our shop has groceries, it has snacks, it has cereals. And these cereals, they are a group of cereals under it. Those will be our three tables, right? So now you've requested that, hey, I want you to give me at least the user, you as the front end, the client, you want to see all the cereals that are within this particular shop. Okay. So you're going to request, give me a list of all the serials here. What is going to come in is the request is going to flow from here, go to the server. The server now goes through this process. After it's initialized, it has gone to the HTTP kernel, and the service providers have been registered and inputted. It now goes to the routing. The routing now asks the question, okay, this person wants something from the database, a resource, right? Which resource? In this case, you've already highlighted through your path that you want to target the serials path. You want to see all the serials within that DB. Then afterwards, you proceed to the controller. Does it make sense, Stephen? Okay, so let me explain the controller now. The controller now serves the purpose of, I would like these serials that are the latest serials that were brought in, let's say from January 2024 to February 25th. Such logic, you put it within the controller and you serve it as well. Does it make sense, folks? Ezekiel, where are you okay? Or are you lost? You can put it on chat now. So let's continue. Today, okay, this is interesting. How many guys have a background in this? You guys have a background in this. Because I remember this thing took me some time to break it down. Dorothy, you have a background? Oh, okay. No wonder it's easy for you. Okay, then, yeah, okay. Okay, no worries. You can, anywhere that you can, feel free to join in. Feel free to join in. Yeah. Let's continue. But nice one. So, this is what I was explaining. So you find in the life cycle, it enters through the public index on page B. So remember, every framework has an entry point, a single entry point. So it all requests are directed here from the web server, loads the rest of the framework. Then you have an autoloader. Then it creates an instance of your service container or an application. So the good thing about this thing is you don't have to manipulate the autoloader or configure this. It's already done for you. That's a good thing. But you just need to visually picture that this is how it flows. Then we go to the kernel now. So once it's come from there, the request entered through handle request or handle command methods, then it acts as that central location to which all requests flow through. So in our case, remember, since we're dealing with an API, basically HTTP based, you're going to target the HTTP kernel right together. So it receives a request and returns a response. That's the idea. And it can also have middleware, passing via middleware in it. So in this case, I know a question you might ask is what is middleware, right? Think of middleware as that how many people have gone to clubs or events before? How many have gone to clubs or events? Kiri, Dorothy, Jacinta, Ozeka, and Chris, Geoffrey. You guys have not gone to a club or my event before. And you know, Chris. Are you sure, Chris? Yeah, okay, this is interesting. Chris, okay, think about it like walking inside an institution and the security guards are there. So the middleware acts as like those security guards or bouncers or cops that are usually control whether you enter or not enter a vicinity or premise. So the purpose of a middleware, in our scenario, we're going to introduce something known as access tokens. An access token is just a unique token that allows you to attach consent to a particular client, telling them that, hey, this client has been verified and can use this particular application or can access this particular data. That's why you find when we log in, for instance, to the likes of TikTok or Instagram, the content that is there is usually ours, our images. We don't tend to see people's images in our homepage, our profile page. That's the idea. So such things, the importance of the middleware is like to control, it's a security measure to control like who is able to access the database, at what point do you access the database, and how long can you access the database. Such small intricacies. Yeah. So let us continue. And the service provider. So we really spoke about the service provider. So one thing you notice is when it comes to Laravel, it's more or less like it bootstraps a lot of things. Like it bootstraps a number of things. Some of them with DB, queues, validation, and routing. So this will interact with when you start building a simple API, rather as we build our APIs. So in terms of the configurations, we tend to configure the service providers in the config up to the PHP file. We'll be able to see the whole structure. Don't worry. I know that's something that you guys, some of you are curious about. So the thing about the service provider, what happens is it iterates through, there's an array that stores all the service providers. So it instantiates them, registers them, and finally puts them. Then to which now it's accessible to the whole application. You can also create your own service providers in the providers.php file. Okay. So we go to now the routing and controller, what we just expressed earlier. So the providers have been registered and booted. A request is sent to either the routing or controller for dispatching. So the question is the route request that has come in, where should it go? The routing asks that question. Then the controller serves the question, okay, you've gone to the right path. The question is, how can I serve you what you need? You don't need, it's like you don't need all the resources. You just need particular resources. How can I serve it? And that's what the controller does. Yeah. Question still there. Question still there. Question still there. Yes, you can. You can just shout it out. Oh, okay. That's okay. That's okay. Let's continue. Second. So, sorry for that. So, anytime you, as you continue, I want you to always picture in your mind, like, once I'm building my API, this is how the request flows. If it ever fails, this is the point to which it failed. Right together. Let's proceed. So, I think now we can proceed to installation because ideally today I was just handling the architecture because I need you to understand the life cycle a bit. It's very important. So how many people have not installed Laravel? I assume everyone has installed it, right? Good. And Composer and XAMPP, has everyone installed it? For XAMPP, you can either use XAMPP or Laragon. Those are just local servers. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of exploration, let me do a short demo here. And to just show you something very interesting. Laravel has the best documentation for sure. That's one thing I'll tell you for free. So in this scenario, first of all, you need to make sure you're on the latest version, which is 11. In this case, is 11. Initially it was 10, yeah, but it's 11. This is new. So with this documentation, I want us to like create our first instance of our application. Okay, what you're going to be building with. So I'll create from my end, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull it. Quick question. Did we go through version control with you? Or is everyone familiar with version control, Git, GitHub, and the likes? Yes, yes. Who is not comfortable with it yet? Perfect. Perfect. Kiri, we did. Thanks. That's okay. That's good to know. Thank you very much. So I want us, we'll go to this section here. We create our first Laravel project. So I'll just do everything from scratch now. So let me just do that. I'll drag in my VS Code. So I've launched VS Code here. And now I'm just going to also put in calling CMD. So I'm just going to create a Laravel application. So I'll see into documents. That's how I usually store. I usually have directories to which I store my project. So cd into cd. I'll make a directory. cd Then I'll do a dir enter into the API directory of the organization. So then I come here and copy this and right click. So in this case, Composer is more or less like it's like a package manager of sort. Okay. So in this case, Composer, we're going to run Composer create project Laravel example dot app. So in this case, the first bit, the Composer is like telling you we're going to use Composer as our main package tool, right? Then we're going to target the create project method with create project functionality, telling it that hey Laravel, hey Composer, I want you to. It's more or less like npm, more or less like npm. Good question. It's more or less like npm. Yeah. More or less like npm. So in this scenario, we have Composer, then create project, then we have Laravel. So here you see that, hey, Composer, I want you to create a project. This project is Laravel. Okay. So the /Laravel/Laravel is more or less like, I think it's more or less like how the directory is. So you're telling it that, hey, create for me this Laravel project. Then this final guy over here, the example app is more or less like the name of the application. In this case, what can we build here? What can we build? Let's build a simple book application, like this for reading. Let's say, Amma, what applications would you guys prefer to build? Let's say backend applications. I'll take we can do a short poll out of 3. I need 3, or the first one that comes. Put it on chat. Anyone, just type it or shout it out. Do you want to build a book application? Do you want to build LMS, learning management system, a shop? Okay, let's go with the shop. Okay, LMS might be slightly heavier because they're already predefined tools for that. So we can actually do both. We can challenge ourselves to do both. So in this scenario, saving management system. Okay, this is a good system. Pass, but I liked your thinking. So let's start with the shop. Then we build a shop real quick. We won't build it today, but we'll build it progressively. But as we build it, you're going to be also learning concepts, key concepts. So the only task I have is for you to practice PHP. Just that. Let's continue. So let's build our shop API. Let's call it a shop API presenter. So in this case, it's creating a it's creating that instance, then fetching all the necessities or the tools of trade. Think of it like what this is doing, what is happening now, it's creating an arsenal. This arsenal has your tools of trade or what the ones that you're going to war with. That's what is happening now. It's almost done. Let's give it a few seconds. Meanwhile, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to, yeah, questions. Just questions, comments, anything. Just feel free. And wait for it to finish. Okay. It's almost there. So I want you to notice this. I want you to notice this. Remember that dependencies are like what you need for you to achieve something, like the tools, more like the tools of trade. So these are like all of them that are being brought in. It's almost done, almost done. Quick one, folks. So far we've written 2 articles for the two people. Written 2 articles. The first one which everyone wrote independently, then the second one which you guys wrote as a group. Are the articles giving you your gaps? Are they showing you where you're lacking the gap points, or they're not yet there? What do you guys think? Mm. Dorothy, tell me something.
Okay, from the articles from what I wrote on my side, and when I read the others from the other members, I kind of get the
Yeah.
gaps, what I missed from whatever I understood.
Okay, that's good. That's good. It's also a good thing you're reading other people's articles because it actually tells you. Here's the best part. Whatever I understood is different from whatever you understood. If I write about it, you tend to see my point of view in terms of what I understood, and you might even gain more. And I will also do the same, like gain more from what you understood. There's some points, there's some good points and some pain points. Yeah. So remember, this week you're still going with the same trend articles. I never saw the PHP calculator that you guys built. So kindly reshare so that I run them. Yeah. Uh, Jacinta was typing. What happened? Ezekiah, Kirui, Stephen, Chris, Geoffrey, give me your opinion as this continues. Let's talk. Let's start with Geoffrey. Chris, yeah, you go on.
Yeah, so like I have a question
Yeah.
on using Composer. Like, is it a must to use
Yes.
Composer, or can we use a different tool?
So far, I think I've used primarily Composer because I think it's the one. Which tool did you have in mind?
Like I was just asking if there is a different tool other than this Composer for Laravel.
I haven't interacted with any other. That's what I can say. Plus, also the documentation kind of recommends or proposes we use Composer. But I can do this. I can look up for more tools that we can use instead. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Stefan. I can't hear you. Stefan?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello, can you hear
nice.
me?
Now I can hear you. Yes, now we can hear you.
Sorry, my microphone had issues. Regarding the article, I think, like Dorothy mentioned, the gaps we're able to fill with different information from other people, but also, at least for me, it's a way to document what I'm learning, and then also apply. I hope that makes sense. Apply in a sense that there's a store of information that you can always check back if I wanted to know what I was thinking at that point in time. Like recently, I reviewed now my article and also what others had written, and I'm able to keep track of everything.
Please don't stop. I know it's kind of challenging writing articles weekly, but please don't stop. You can also challenge me as well as well. Just challenge me if you like. I can join in, we collaborate on one or more if you like. So, okay. Hezekiah, just a second. Sorry for that. Yeah, so let's continue. Hezekiah, I'm still waiting for your response. Yeah. Meanwhile, our application has finished installing. So one thing you'll notice here is it has brought in almost 72 packages, added a lot of dependencies and all. So in this scenario here, what you're going to do is you're going to run the first application. So here we have a tool known as Artisan. The Artisan is more or less like the painter, or rather the person who orchestrates it and creates the application. So in this case, we're going to run PHP Artisan. So I'm telling it like, hey, so, there's something that I've done wrong. Sorry for that. Always remember to be in the right directory. Let me clear my screen. So in this scenario, if you look at this, the current directory is under Documents, Web Dev API. If I do a dir, you'll notice one thing. I have my example now, PHP fundamentals in our shopping API, right? Let's try and run PHP Artisan. So let's see the error that we get. So here what you'll get is you'll get could not open input file Artisan. Reason being the API is not stored within the root folder, which is that API. So we cd into shop API. I know you're wondering why in the world am I well make exactly I'm sorry, Alicia. I was just saying that I was waiting for your feedback in terms of how the articles, whether the articles are helping you know your gaps or whether the articles are basically helping you. And also, are you practicing on your PHP? Just that you can answer after this. So here, the reason I know you're wondering why this in the world is this person telling me to learn about, rather look at these small terminal commands, small command commands. The reason is When it comes to a whole backend system, in most scenarios, you'll find yourself working on a terminal, rather working behind a terminal console. And the objective would be one, can I deploy my application? Can I see what's in my database? Can I create a table, create a database, such scenarios? Right together, folks. So this it more or less like a motor skill. It will come with time because I didn't learn it at once. Sorry. Let's continue. So I'll do a CLS to clear my screen. If you're using Mac or Linux, it's going to be here. And the commands are slightly different, but they're more or less the same. So CMD terminal allows you to communicate directly with that hardware on your machine. That's basically it. So here, if you do a dir lists down all the files or subfiles within my particular directory. In this case, files folders here, leave that directory. Here, if you look at this, we have all this here. We have all this. So I can explain the most common ones you interact with. So I'm sure you're taking a front-end course, right? A front-end package. True or false? Are you guys taking a front-end? Are you guys learning also front-end development? Only backend. Okay. Okay. So I'll walk you through from just I'll try and cover backend and also introduce a little bit of frontend so that we can see what you're building. Okay. So in this case, you have an environment.env file. The TNV file is more or less like the environment variables. The environment variables then will allow you to know, like, okay, now these are the things, the basic configurations that I can use within my whole application, such that when I transfer this application from one developer to another, he or she can just take up the .env file, copy it, paste it, then run it again. It picks up from the .env file. So in most scenarios, you find the .env file is most likely what you share or what you copy and make. .env.example is usually generated automatically. Gitignore, we already know what gitignore does. Gitignore tells us that, hey, as much as you're version controlling all these bundles or all these tools, please leave out whatever is in this file. Right together, folks, till that. Right together? Perfect. Let's continue. So then we have the app. The app tells us, hey, okay, so now I know you're building an application, a backend application, right? Where do I store it? So this is where it's stored in the app directory. Artisan now holds now, it's like that painter with a big, how many people remember Peter Marangi? Does anyone remember Peter Marangi? Jeffrey, Ezekiel, Jacinta, Dorothy, Kiri. Do you guys remember Peter Marangi, the painter? Brown paint. Perfect. Think of the artisan like Peter Marangi. Okay. I'm not marketing anyone. This is just an analogy I'm giving. In the advert, you'd find you take up ground paints, then also paint, like show how beautiful ground paints were. Use the paint, create beautiful stuff, right? So think of this artisan like that particular painter. Like this guy is just ready, telling you that, hey, okay, you want me to make some application? Let me whip it completely and have it then served. Okay. Bootstrap, remember, we spoke about bootstrapping. Now, Laravel more or less just brings a whole lot of tools together. So it bootstraps upon other tools on itself. Composer JSON, we look at this. Config is where we handle our config files, database, the DB. Package.json just gives us a description of our application. Public, remember, this is where our index.php resides. README, what README does. Resources, we have our resources. The routes, remember, this is where the routes are coming in. So in a scenario, let's say where you want to store books within your application, actual books. Let's say a book, images, videos. It will end up here. We look at this configuration later on, but we can upload a book from your local device to the backend system, and it will be stored there. Then you have tests. Byte config, byte. One thing you'll notice is there are frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, and the likes. Some of those frameworks use a tool known as Byte. Initially, they would use something known as Vue CLI for Vue, another CLI bodies or entities. So Byte is way faster. It's more optimized for building and running. Let's call it building and running your application and deploying your application. So that's where the config file state. Okay. Are you together till that point, maybe? Does it make sense? You know, you can be together, but it doesn't make sense. Does it make sense? Geoffrey and Jacinta, does it make sense? Ah, perfect. Geoffrey, give me something. I repeat here. From I think silence will disturb me. I repeat. So let's look at it now. Alison, okay. Let me repeat. Okay, let me repeat. So now I'll open it. Let me now transfer this to the left side. I'll do a CLS. Let's open our fellow CLS. Clear this. Let's open our fellow on VS Code. Okay. So we'll go here. So I'm sure everyone has VS Code. You can use whatever tool you want or whatever editor you want. I prefer VS Code because of just it's it's lightweight, and also I think it's more modern. I just prefer it. You can choose and you can build whichever tool you want, but my preference would be VS Code. Okay, and also I think it's commonly used in industries. Yeah. So you can come here, open a folder. So in this case, I will go to my documents. I go to my web development. Where is my okay? So that it's got to be a web development. Then I go to API. Then I go to my shop API. Then I go to select folder. There. So here, as it opens, let's now look at the structure one more time. At least now it has colors. It's more lively, right? So I'll version control, I'll push this to GitHub such that we can be pulling and you can review this code all the time. So here, remember we had application, you have the bootstrap, the database, language, public resources, all this. So the key people you are going to play with is app. One is the app. App is now the application itself. Like this is where your application will reside. All the logic you write is going to reside here. Majority of it actually. Bootstrapping, we don't need to change a lot of. We don't need to edit this now. But remember, you can add other services or bootstrap other services here. For the config, we're going to now write our configurations. For instance, you can even configure, let's say, the authentication. You can configure services, our own services, or sessions, and all, even our views there in the app itself. For the database, we're going to now remember when we spoke about databases. Now it goes deeper. It goes deeper. So let's look at it from. Let me explain it from a high level before we go deeper to the code itself. Okay. So let me just read this. One, think of a factory as those people who make it. Like literally, just think about it like a factory. These are the people who make stuff, right? So within the factories, you can conjure. You can use it to conjure data and load it on your database together. And the seeders tend to just check. The seeders tend to allow you to run the factories. Okay. So a factory can use to load or generate data or load data within your DB. A migration is basically, hey, I want this table, right? This table has name, user, name, age, class, ID. I want you to create this table within the database. So after creating that model of the schema, you're going to run what is known as a migration. The migration, what it's going to do is going to go to the database and say, hi, my people, I'm creating another table, and this table is going to be for users. Build it for me. That is the purpose for migration, basically. Then you have languages. Languages for now, let's look at it. Remember our fella here, index.php. Let me not scare you with code yet. Index.php, this is the entry point to our whole application. Resources, what do we need? Like one, resources will harbor the views themselves, like what you're going to see. So when it comes to Laravel, it has views that are written in a pattern known as blade, in a blade pattern. So that's what you find. You hear something like welcome.blade.php search. But in our scenario, as you're going to focus on, the backend itself, and I'll introduce you to some little Vue.js. Are we together, folks? Vue.js is kind of optimized and easy to read. So it's just simple JavaScript. Don't worry, simple JavaScript. And it's fun actually. So then we proceed now to routes. Remember, asking the question, where do you want me to go? This is the guy who does that. Okay, think of that policeman on the streets at the center of the traffic way, telling you guys, move this way, move that way. That is our route guy. Then you see the storage guy now tells us like, okay, you have all this, and he saved the things you're giving me somewhere. That's how phenomenal. Yes, you're going to look at it later on. Yeah. And this is the tool that is running. So until that point, is it better? It's better, right? I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, please just shout out. I will repeat. I promise you that I will repeat. Thank you very much, Dorothy. I have not seen a thumbs up, a cry, or even a meh in the heart. Good, good. Ezekiel? Ah, nice, nice. Okay. So now we're going to do this, yeah? We're going to come here and run our application. Okay. So today the objective is learn the life cycle, learn the structure, the basic structure, learn the first instance. So let's do a partisan. So remember, our Marangi has come to life. He's now painting. Once he's done painting, he gives us something known as a URL. So this is what the URL is. So this here, what has happened is it has created a local server instance, rather a simple local server, and it served us what is known as a URL. This is our URL. This here is usually mapped to our local host, and this here is the port number. So I'm just going to right click. I'm just going to go to my browser. Okay, let me see. Here. So I'm just going to slide this to the right, to the left. I'm going to lock this guy over here. Then I'm going to serve this file over here. Let's do a localhost 8000. Enter. So when you run localhost 8000, I need to notice something here. So I'm just going to put it there, put code here, then let it run. So it's 127, 0.0.1. Give it a few seconds. So today we're just running it, just that, nothing more, just that. So do not worry, we'll survive. We'll survive. And the way it's taking. Let me just stop it. Finally ran. Okay, that's it. So this here is a view, what we see, right? If we go to our views, I'll explain views tomorrow. You go to welcome.blade. This is what is being served here. Let me show you. So let me just change this here. See, I love chicken salad. And wrong controllers. Fresh template. Here you have it. I love chicken and salad. So that is the front end side. Like this is what is going to. This is a blade. This is a blade pattern that you see here. So you see many at, end, auth, and so forth. we're not going to use this. This is just a way to tell you that it has run. But then the guy we're focusing on is the backend, remember? So I'm going to open my something known as Postman. Let it open. Postman will be like a tool that we'll be using to test our APIs, whether they are making sense or they are running. Okay. So today, just go and run this first instance. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, so I have a quick question on how we run our views.
Yes, yes.
So does that mean that we don't actually use HTML files? Like we have to use a .php file in our views, or can we be able to use HTML?
You can be able to use HTML. Remember, your particular view. If you want to combine it with this, your particular view in an industry case doesn't have to be housed under the same roof. It can be housed under another one. What do I mean? You can create a pure vanilla application. A vanilla, I mean pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Host it somewhere, and it will still consume this API once you've hosted it. By hosting, I mean take it out there to the server where it's accessible through, remember the internet, our image for the internet, that whole approach. Make sense?
Yes.
Have I answered your
Thank you.
question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So that is the end of today's session. Thank you very much for coming. I'd like you to go and practice on PHP. Go and just repeat what you've done today. At the end of the week, as always, it's what do you call this? It's an article writing session. Yeah, feel free to reach out in case of any challenge, and if you need some clarification. Meanwhile, have a great evening, and let's meet tomorrow for our first application. Okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye.